Yeah.
Too peaceful. Fine. Welcome to September's Hilton Parish Council Meeting. On the agenda to receive apologies for absence.
Apologies from Peter and Richard.
Excellent. And declarations of interest. Okay, any dispensations?
No.
No? Okay.
Excuse me, could you just speak up a little bit, please?
Sure.
Or can we move the chairs forward? But I'm not hearing very
I'll
well.
try to
Thank
speak
you.
up a little bit.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Okay, in that case, we'll close the meeting and open this to the general public. Andy?
Yeah, a couple of good items on the agenda. I'm glad to see them regarding the obviously HGV issues we've got in the village. Both items 23, 24, 98 and 99. It might be worth just giving a quick update. We're monitoring the road every day still, and we're logging every HGV that goes through, and we're writing to every company that has an HGV that goes through. We've had responses from 970 different companies, not vehicles, so some of those have multiple offenders, but we've had 970 responses back, and therefore we've collected, and we always ask the question, why, of course, did you do it? So we've got a really pretty good feeling now for the reasons that they're still coming through. Some of them are a bit spurious, you can probably imagine, but it is down to signage, it's down to sat-navs. They're the real big two issues they're blaming. The sat-navs are coming in line because we've been working with the sat-nav companies for over a year now to try and get their databases up to speed. That just takes a long time to come through, but also lorry drivers aren't the best people at updating their sat-navs, and some of them are still on maps from 3 or 4 years ago. But once you've beaten them up once and their operations directors or whatever give them a kick, they're coming up to speed. So I think we're percolating through and getting a lot of that stuff covered. But signage is still a big one. We always ask the question, what was it? And quite often we didn't see the signs, or the signs are too late, or that sort of stuff. So I'm glad that's on the agenda, and so we'd like to be part of obviously the discussions for the LHI bid as you start getting to the what do you want, where do you want it type signings. I think we've got some pretty good data and info there. And the second one I think is a great one, looking at a longer term strategy, because we're never going to solve the lorry problem, I don't think, but we're going to get on top of it that speeding is still an issue and other things are. And I get approached by a lot of people saying not only is it HGVs coming through, but it's HGVs speeding through. And we're still collecting data on a weekly basis. I know Rob gets it done, I send it to Nicola as well, from our speed indicator devices and the data collection. So nothing's really changed there at all. They're still speeding at the bottom end of the village. So I think having a longer term strategy looking not just the HGVs and speeding and other things, certainly we'd like to be involved. Our local policing sergeant, Andy Kuarana, has been a star. Poor guy is understaffed as all the police are. He's got one special, he's got a couple of PCSOs, and he currently is also covering Huntingdon because they've got staff down there. But they enforce whenever they can. But what they are doing, and they did one actually for us today, is if a company just pretty much ignores us, ignores him because he writes to them, gives them a really good stiff talking to. Today he sent out a notice of intended prosecution, and he's doing that on the back of our video evidence. So we don't even have to have the police there for what I'll call the extreme cases, and he's supporting us in every way he can. So he's a really good guy, he knows his stuff. It'll be good to get him involved in this activity, I think, of a collaboration with the village to work out what we do next going forward. Okay.
I was absolutely horrified on Sunday morning at about 9:10 with several other witnesses to see a tractor with a trailer careering through at great speed, and it clipped the bollard, and I thought he very nearly tumbled over. It very nearly collapsed. It was really dangerous. And followed by another tractor, which was also going too fast. So it isn't just HGVs, it's our local traffic as well.
Yeah, I mean, make it part of the strategy, but perhaps the Parish Council I wanted to write to the farmers, because there's obviously a huge amount of work going on at harvest time at the moment, and I agree with you, those big four-wheel drive fast tractors go far too fast with loads, so it's perhaps a studious work from the Parish Council saying, could you please ask their drivers to slow down a bit going through the village. That would be good. Anyway, that's what I just wanted to say, so thanks Ed.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm just going to hold back on the broadband issue and probably just introduce that and bring it back in a second. So in that case, if nobody else.
We've got the written report from Doji.
Yes.
Do you want me to read that out?
Yeah, go on.
So Doug's report is fairly short. He was intending to attend tonight, but unfortunately he's been stuck at work. So he has stated that he's aware of growing complaints about weeds in various parts of the district and across the county. The County Council's current highways operational standards state that the council will apply targeted weed killer, using a targeted approach at agreed locations identified on the basis of risk, rather than cyclically as before. This policy affects about 30% of the highway network in Cambridgeshire, as only curbed urban areas were previously cyclically treated for weeds. The County Council's policy remains to remove hazardous weeds or weeds causing a safety issue or nuisance. Where the use of chemical weed killer is part of wider maintenance activity, it is still carried out. For example, weeds would be cleared before slurry sealing footways or surface treating carriageways. A mid-season review of the policy has already been programmed in, and he will report back any residents' concerns.
Thank you. Okay, in that case, I shall reopen the meeting momentarily. Going to agenda item 88, which is to receive an update from County Broadband. We've had a couple of issues in the village that seems to have gone onto the social media for the village. Probably just confusion, so I think an update would be most welcome. So on that point, I'll close the meeting again. If you could update it, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, just look at the progress. So I had a meeting today with the project manager for this area, our PA Group 16, which is the number of villages around this area here. There had been some delays on the initial time frame for works. The original contractor that was going to be completing the works just couldn't scale up enough to complete all of the villages that they were going to have. So I've actually brought a new build contractor on board. They're all on board and all good to go, called JW Network Solutions. So they're the vans that you'll see around the area. So the pre-build works and initial survey works were all completed in December, and the other works were supposed to start obviously earlier in the year. It's now due for the start date of the works is 2nd of October. With a February completion date on that one, then moving on to the 12-week validation and connection of all pre-ordering customers. I know I also spoke with them about there was a request for any grass that was taken up for any trenching done for that to be put back down again. So again, that's absolutely fine to do that. Obviously the only concern they've got is if they pop it back down again, if it's been out of the ground for a few days, if it doesn't take back, but they're happy to do that, of course. Generally what they would do, they would just re-soil and reseed, but it's absolutely, if that's what you want for the turf to go back down, they can absolutely do that for you, that's not a problem. So they're the main kind of updates in terms of the project. So yeah, 2nd of October is when you're going to see work starting in the area.
Okay, and when are we going live in Hilton?
So the work's completed in February,
Yep.
Everything going to plan. And then there's a 12-week period of validating and surveying and connecting all the pre-order customers. So once all the pre-ordered customers are connected, then we start to connect the people who have signed up later after that. Okay. So they'll be live then, basically.
So between February and May?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Will people be getting connected within that period?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so the finalisation will be 3 months after that?
Yeah, we say it's a generalised SLA just for the total time. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's longer, depending on the difficulties you may have on particular houses or something like that. So, but yeah, 12 weeks on average.
Okay. As we're close meeting at the moment.
Can I ask a question as well?
Just about to say, this is open discussion, fine.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I get quite a lot of feedback from folks that they don't get any responses from you.
Right, okay.
Really poor. A lot of people are saying they contact customer services asking questions, don't get any feedback at all. So I don't know if there's anything you can do about better customer service, but that's pretty appalling in their minds. And then that follows on to whether people are asking whether they can cancel their pre-orders, because it's now outside of the terms and conditions of the pre-order contracts.
Yeah.
So is that now we're so far out of date from when the orders were placed, getting on for 2 years, well, a year and a half ago, can people just cancel their
So what I need to do is, I was just having a conversation with this gentleman actually. I'm going to get in touch with our accounts team and get an official statement, because I can't say definitively yes or no from my position, but I can get an answer on whether they can or not. And for because it will need to be time frames from when people have signed up, yeah, I can get that information out to either the Parish Council or for the website or whoever needs it really for a general distribution.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of discussions and lots of forums, and particularly on Facebook is where I've been picking it up from and asking questions. So if you can get official statements out, we can put that up on Facebook. I don't mind doing it. I put the last one up I got from you, I think, which was only after beating up Matt, the sales guy, saying we're getting a lot of grief here in the village. Please, can somebody respond to us? So that sort of work, but we shouldn't really have to do that. The follow-on question to people cancelling is, obviously we hit your threshold for minimum number of pre-orders. If you get a lot of people cancelling and that drops below that, is there any risk of actually the project not going ahead?
I wouldn't have thought so at this later stage. If every single person in the village cancelled, maybe that's something that would need to be addressed. We've never had that happen before. Yeah, honestly, I can't answer that question fully because it's never happened before.
Okay.
I can't see at this stage the amount of money that's been put into the designs, the pre-design work. It's literally just the build left to do. I can't imagine that happening. But again,
But it could.
I can ask the question.
Okay.
It's never before, so and I don't think we've ever discussed it before either. So yeah.
No, I don't know if you've ever been this late, and obviously people being dissatisfied with they're getting their renewal contracts from BT or talk to whoever they're with, you see, and they're going through that discussion of can I renew. You know, we obviously have that period of time where you would pay up to 12 months of a contract, but a lot of these are two-year contracts they're getting into. So can we have a definitive on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll get information for that. And I think there are talks of actually, when we're getting some areas that have been delayed past what they should have been done, extending deferral periods and things like that to make it easier for people. So I can bring that all up and get something more definitive.
Yeah, and it didn't help sending letters out to people saying, you know, please sign up, we're near the threshold. That's just patently wrong.
Right.
And people being phoned up, that was on Facebook this last couple of weeks as well, being phoned up by your sales guys basically saying, we need to get you signed up so you can hit that threshold and then get the project moving, which is patently wrong.
Yeah, that is wrong.
So if you can get the marketing sorted as well.
Yeah.
It just annoys people more than anything else.
Of course,
It is annoying, but actually you phone people up that have pre-ordered.
Yeah, so the telesales team will...
And letters, I got a letter.
To say, to get up to threshold.
Yeah, I got a letter. My wife got a letter.
Confused, yeah.
I think a lot of people in the village got letters. So anyway, it's not been managed and organised particularly well, but we need some definitives, I think, to get the confidence back in the villages. Yeah. If you want to get them to hang on and not cancel and stick with what they've got or go with something alternative, then I think you just need to do something there. Yeah, I'll bring that up. I'll bring that up tomorrow. Okay, good. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else would like to discuss? No? Okay. Craig, thank you for coming along.
No worries at all. All right, take care, thank you.
Okay, so we will open the meeting again now.
Sorry.
On to item 89. So to approve the minutes of the Parish Council Meeting held, we've got the Council Meeting on the 3rd of July and the Planning Committee's 3rd of July, 21st of August. So we had time to have a look through those of us who were there.
Yeah, I can't vote on the last one because I wasn't there.
No, so
I'm happy with the other two. So
yes,
do individually.
absolutely. Do we have to do each one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the full council meeting on the 3rd of July, I propose that we accept.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there?
No.
Perfect. And then we've got the planning meeting. Sorry, I should have done that first actually. But never mind. Planning meeting on the 3rd of July. Those who were there. And then the planning meeting on the 21st of August. Those of you who were there.
Is that enough?
Yeah. One vote carries.
Fine.
Could I ask a question? I know I'm not on the planning committee. I do read the descriptions, and it was quite hard on one of them to work out what it was they wanted to be done. Is it possible in the future there's a greater clarity in explaining what the project was for everybody who's on the Parish Council but not on the planning committee?
The project is defined by the district council.
You have to look it up on
You have
the
to look it
planning
up.
website.
Right,
Yes.
as long
So
as I know,
that
that's
description
fine. Okay,
is
thank you very
drafted by
much.
the district
Okay,
council,
well,
so I just copy and paste
Okay,
it.
right.
You take the reference and just search on the
Thank you.
planning site.
I
And
didn't
you get
know.
all the details. Yeah. Okay. Matters arising from the last meeting, including Clerk's report.
Okay, so Matt has received his induction and the bank account is in the process of being updated. The first draft of the Manor Farm easement deed has been prepared by the developer solicitors and currently being reviewed by the council solicitors. After the success of the cookery workshop in June, 2 further workshops have been planned for Saturday the 16th of September, which is a correction from the publication in Spectrum, of the Journal, sorry, which says Saturday the 19th of September. So just for clarity there, it is Saturday the 16th of September and also Saturday the 21st of October. 2 street lights, one by the Maze and one in Scots Crescent, has been reported to the maintenance contractor. Graham Barradell has agreed to act as maintenance person on a temporary basis. However, this is likely to end in October. He has been working to remove the weeds from the path in Tithe Close recently and has also today cut the playground grass. The 8-week cricket programme has now ended. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. There has been some interest in reviving the cricket club and a representative from Cricket East is providing advice and support to the volunteer that has expressed an interest. Councillor Richard Norton and Councillor John Capes have volunteered to attend the Flood Group Conference. The Community Ownership Fund expression of interest form had been submitted. A response was received to invite the council to apply for the fund. However, the fund is not currently receiving applications. I have just received the dates of the next bidding window, opened this week in fact, so I can now submit a bid to that fund. And after Feast Week, I submitted the meter reading for the Cricket Pavilion to Ecotricity, and the account is now £330.05 in credit. I have requested a refund and they have asked for an up-to-date meter reading, so hopefully that will be resolved before the next council meeting. As an addition to the published clerk's report, Councillor Heather Chambers has resigned, so the notice of vacancy will be issued and proper processes followed for then co-option should an election not be called. And that's me done.
Thank you, Nicola. Right. Item 91, to review and ratify decisions made on the dedicated decision scheme. Yes, please.
FCC Communities grant application had a requirement for a lettings policy. They gave us a bit of a stay of execution and allowed us to submit it up to the 31st of August, but it did mean that I have drafted a lettings policy and submitted it for the purpose of the grant application. Obviously I did consult with Peter, but there is still plenty of time for the policy group to convene and to review this and present a final draft for council's approval. TP Garden Services was instructed to mow the playground. Unfortunately, I only got 48 hours notice of the inspection, which actually came 2 months earlier than expected. And so Tony very kindly went and mowed the playground very quickly for me at a cost of £50. And again, Peter was informed about that one. Invoices for Capac for the internal audit of £64.95, TP Garden Services for £50 for the playground mowing, and also the K&M lighting maintenance quarterly bill of £175.55 were paid as they fell due prior to this council meeting. Peter was consulted on those. And a letter of thanks was sent on behalf of the council to a Mr D. Sharp, who altered and welded the bench fixings to suit the Wicksteed Barton bench fitted by Councillor Capes next to the pavilion. And again, Peter was consulted on those.
Okay. Do we do these all together?
Yes.
Or individually?
No,
Or
you
just
didn't.
one vote for them?
One vote.
Okay, so can I propose that we accept these?
Thank you.
Okay. See Green Open Spaces reports.
Go again. So the material from the dredging has now all been removed from the wilderness. The total was 15 loads of muck away. The Open Spaces Officer has suggested asking a local farmer to harrow the area just to level it. There has been a discussion about reseeding the area, but as it would be very difficult to match the variety of species currently present on the wilderness, the current thinking is that it would be best left to self-seed rather than introducing any species that don't belong. The Open Spaces Officer has conducted a tree walk with one of the tree surgeons and is arranging to do the same with the other two, and his report will then follow. Concerns have been raised by the first tree surgeon regarding the large oak by the village hall, which is the one just there. In terms of its structural integrity, there's a lot of bare patches. If you stand under the tree and look up, you'll see a lot of gaps. There's also a large number of woodpecker holes, which obviously can weaken the structure. The conversation with the first tree surgeon said that the council may need advice from an expert, for which there would be a cost. He will be discussing this with the other two tree surgeons, so there may be further advice from them prior to deciding to go for an expert. There are also concerns about the elms in both the Grove and Sparrow Way. Now, the Grove is definitely owned by the Parish Council. The elms in Sparrow Way are in a bit of a grey area. We think they are owned by the County Council, but they are right on the edge of the green, so it's that where do you draw the line question. They have bracket fungus, which is only found in dying trees. That bracket fungus has been there for many years and has stayed at a sort of level, but unfortunately the fungal infection has increased a lot in the last 12 months. So, and these are very big trees, so again, they could be looked at by an expert, but they are on their way out. And an inquiry has been received about a potential memorial tree, and I'm trying to organise a meeting with our tree warden and the person inquiring to discuss further about locations and species and so on.
Okay, thanks, Nicola.
Would you like to receive that report?
I would love to receive that report.
Excellent.
I was just going to say, can we have a quick delve into the elms situation, find out who actually owns them?
Yes.
Maybe I would suggest that we write to HTC or see if they want to offer their ownership of it then.
Is that a resolution of the council?
Yes.
Yes, are we okay with that?
Second.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's not as polished as Peter, but
No, okay.
I'll get there eventually. Okay, so moving on to the number 93, the discuss and decide on the repairs to Hilton Maze. Got a report here from Clive Conservation, who did the repair some 12 or so years ago on this. There was an issue, I vaguely remember, because I was on council at the time, there was an issue with their repair to do with the lime water not being of the right mix. So the first sixth of it wasn't great. The rest of it was done to a decent level, so it's a decent standard. And it looks like that first sixth is having the main issue at the moment.
There are further cracks and crumbly areas
Yeah.
in the rest of it as well.
They are quoting effectively 3,290. I believe this is unbudgeted for,
It is unbudgeted.
so we have to consider whether we are prepared to go into this work.
Is there anyone else we can go to? Have you been to, is it English
I went to
Heritage?
English Heritage. They said they do have grants available, but the advice was that they are restricting those to structures that are about to collapse, houses that are falling down, rather than maintenance of. If it was the monument, they might be more interested.
can they recommend another contractor though? Do they have lists of recognised contractors? They often do with that type of thing.
Don't you have to get free estimates anyway?
You are required to accept where there is such specialised work that you can't. So, yeah, this is potentially falls into that category because it is very specialised work.
Is there a legal onus on the council to preserve such a monument
It is a schedule.
within very prescribed parameters? That is to say, having identified a maintenance issue, is that when the clock starts, or is there more flexibility in terms of...
I don't know that there's a clock in that sense. Obviously, what it prohibits you from doing is going down to Gifton Dandy and getting a bag of concrete and just swapping that on the side. But in terms of timescales, I don't know.
Have they indicated how long we've got effectively until it deteriorates even more?
No, all I have is what's written in that quotation. So they come and surveyed the...
And are we saying that some of the deterioration has occurred prematurely as a result of this company's initial work?
Potentially, but that was all down to the 2010.
Oh, was it?
So that's all.
That's not of relevance to this. Okay, thank you.
Of course, presumably the investors they wouldn't have the same thing against the
Yes,
company.
yeah. And it was something of the balance of the mortar and mix that they used. I don't know the details.
So, am I assuming then if we did have the discretion to defer until the next budget year, we might have to then look at some sort of segregation of the area to prevent further fencing off?
Well, I mean, it gets fenced off over winter anyway. So obviously you get fenced off around October half term and thereabouts normally for the winter. But normally it's then open again by Easter.
What if the weather last winter has some bearing on expediting this?
Can we use any contractor?
Yeah,
There's no
restriction.
no restriction under English Heritage to say you have to use a particular.
Not as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, a certified contractor.
I would have to look into what's into the scheduled monuments.
Only because that is it's mainly the lime mortar, isn't it? That's
Well, it's the hazel staves
yeah,
and the lime mortar.
which a lot of people can do.
Yeah, it's just getting it right.
It's no, absolutely. So just to go to that particular because they've got conservation in their name.
But it's more because they did it before. So they learned lessons from last time.
Although we can tell them the next any other contractors about the lessons. I'm minded to suggest or propose that we postpone this to the next meeting until we can find out if there's any other contractors.
Yeah.
Can I suggest you defer to a future meeting? Because it's taken me about 6 months to get this quotation. So I wouldn't bank on getting 2 more for the next meeting.
That sounds good. I suppose we defer to a future meeting.
And could we ask the finance committee to have a look at the budget for it, because there isn't one.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Propose to a future meeting and the finance committee review it. Number 94, discuss and decide upon proposed works. To get a scrub from green, cost £500. Let's just do that. It was prepared by the tree warden. Have you got the document 94? Chance to have a look at that.
Would the tree warden regard this as desirable rather than urgent? This one?
Then you've got some background on this?
It's been done several times, but I believe it's been done free of charge.
Yes.
So obviously there's a lot of work involved. So in order to maintain it, obviously once he gets to it with a standard mould.
So he was asking it to be done by somebody with an agricultural implement.
Well, the blue areas can be done by the maintenance contractor using his current equipment.
Yeah.
The red areas
Absolutely.
would require a larger piece of machinery.
Yes. But he's still going to charge £500 for the bit that he's going to
The
do.
£500 is just for the blue areas.
It's quite a bit of area.
It is a large area. There's a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
chop.
It's good, sort of 3 days work.
Well, at least so 20 hours.
Okay.
I think that we've got to be cognizant of the fact that it's a provision within the contract, isn't it? So
The
contract
provision
is to
for
reserve the
the
provision for up to 30 hours each year.
yeah, directed hours is how this be referred to as, but
So-
they are in addition to the contract amount.
Trouble is, if you leave it, we're going to have more red areas, and then it's going to be an issue to clear it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Presumably it's a good idea to do it in the winter.
Yeah.
When you've got gas.
Before it gets too wet, because the wilderness
Yeah.
gets very wet.
Yeah, of course.
But this is in addition to the budget.
This is another addition to the
Yeah.
budget, it's not in the budget.
Is there a pot we can dip into?
Yeah, one that you could potentially, the one you're going to underspend on is your maintenance person pot.
Does that allow for that amount though?
Bear with me, I'll put my cash book. So it would allow for that amount. Currently you've spent £50 on a budget of 1,500.
Okay.
Obviously, should you employ a maintenance person, you've got, the financial year doesn't end until the end of March. So potentially you could employ a maintenance person tomorrow and...
Have we employed them through to October then?
Not completely.
I mean, is
Because
that going to be some of the
it's
budget?
ad hoc. I'm currently in negotiation with him
Okay.
on that one. But yes, potentially that could use some of the budget because he has done some work.
And what about the red bit? I mean, this is a proposal to do the blue bit.
This is a proposal to do the blue bit for £500. If you want me to approach a local contractor, local farmer about coming to do the red bit, then I can come back to a future meeting with a price.
Would
Got a
we,
local farmer in mind.
if we want to ensure that we've got some capacity for a maintenance person toward the end of the financial year, would the contractor be receptive to us prioritising blue areas and maybe then allocating half of those hours of that sum?
That sum is for only the blue areas?
Yes, prioritising the blue areas. So that's to say we don't have more of them. So we only...
selecting
We
which...
say that we want to keep 10 hours equivalent in the budget for a maintenance person as a contingency if someone is appointed before the end of the year. Therefore, there's 10 hours available, and then the green space officer prioritises, okay, the ones over the crossing or wherever else is deemed a more priority area.
You should have, so bearing in mind you're halfway through your financial year now, that 1560 should have been enough to pay a maintenance person for 12 months. So theoretically, if you only use half of that budget,
Fine.
you've got enough to
So
pay a
that would give
maintenance
us the
contractor
capacity
from down
without
to the
looking
end.
to reduce
Make
that
it
amount.
red area.
I don't know what the price would be
No,
for
if
that
we-
work.
Yeah.
But obviously that has already reached the point where it needs...
You've got any more of it to reach any of that?
No.
I mean, for me, logically, I would say the internal boundaries would be more pressing than the external boundaries in terms of the amenity use and the aesthetics, but I don't know whether that
A lot of dog walkers go round, runners use the edge as well.
And of course the contrary opinion could be perfectly valid as well.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
prioritising the areas could be a heated debate.
Okay.
I mean, I think given the status with the maintenance person, I'd be happy to go ahead and say let's do all the blue and get a quote on the red and then decide separately on that.
Yeah.
We don't want it escaping.
You need to do it before the nesting season though, wouldn't you? Which of course is towards the end of the fiscal budget year. So,
So are we going to propose that we accept this charge? Are we ready to do that?
Okay,
Yeah.
take a question from
Yeah.
John.
Just, it
2
need-
seconds, John.
The blue areas need doing now. No, I've been doing this for 24 years, so I can tell you when it needs doing. And it should have been done 2 months ago.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. Okay.
Annually? Well, we ought to have that part of the calendar and...
Let's factor that into the budget. Yeah. Okay, we open the meeting in that case. I propose that we accept this work and ask Nicola to look into the red areas as well for quotes. Can we do that as one?
Yep.
Okay. Close that. Poorly worded, but okay. Number 95. It's a note from a parishioner regarding the footpaths. I'm vouch for one of these. Let's see, current state of the footpaths. Firstly, between Cotton Road and Tithe Close, that I have been myself, and it's full of thorns, easy to tear stuff. Gravely between Kidman's Close and Drift, and at the bottom of Tithe Close coming out onto Gravely, there's a low branch. There's a comment from the parishioner that says that for many years, members of the Parish Council used to walk around to keep it all in order. As a parishioner, I'm disappointed. But I shall have to contact you about these issues. Any ideas of how we would?
I think our maintenance person has cleared the first of
Worked
those.
on the one between
Yeah.
Potton Road and Tithe Close, however the one between Kidman's Close and Potton Road is very overgrown. It's not mentioned here, obviously this particular walker doesn't use that one, but I've had another parishioner contact me this week to say she was caught by a bramble and ended up cut across her face and neck because she got
Yeah, you lose eyes on this sort of stuff.
So, as I say, the maintenance person has done this area, but in previous councils, there has been a handful of councillors who have just periodically walked around the village, and if there is a low branch falling or a bit of bramble, they've just had at it with a pair of secateurs or a pruning saw. And I think that's what this particular parishioner is commenting on, is that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, there's also a volunteer group that in Stock heads up that I might have a chat with him and see if we can try and focus it towards this, because we've been concentrating quite a bit on taking ivy off trees, tree stumps and trees. So I might have a chat with Ian on that front to see if we can.
I'd be happy to walk around with Ian and meet with
Yeah,
a pair of secateurs and do some have a nice walk on a nice day.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I think so. Should we resolve on that one? Yeah, okay, so what is the resolution? I'm going to have a chat with Ian. No.
Excuse me. Tide Lane, I cut the other day, and it's down to another contractor to do that. And I took my big mower, went right up Tide Lane both sides. It was overgrown, brambles this thick, and it was a disgrace. So who, TP maintenance is it?
Okay.
Absolute disgrace.
Supposed to do the ditches now, I'll have to check his contract.
Really, but you can go on us.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Right.
Cheers, John.
Thank you.
Can we check that? And actually, who's all good and well as getting us volunteers, I'm more than happy to do that. But if somebody's actually getting paid to do this, we need to probably check to make sure that they are, obviously. So, resolution.
That's just certain places, isn't it?
Ties Lane.
It's the bit between at the bottom of Chapel Close that goes down all the way down to Gravely Way along the side of the back of Kidman's Close. So it comes up where the horses are in the corner and the ones at the very end.
He's
Very muddy.
Yes.
So it's not really
required to keep a ditch clear down Ties Lane.
Just the ditches?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not the path.
Not the path. So yeah, the contract says keep the ditch clear. Annual cut back the growth around the ditch, keep the ditch clear. And the ditch only comes up halfway up Ties Lane.
Okay.
Is it something we could add into their contract if they're going down there anyway? To do the ditches?
Potentially.
For next
For the
budget
next
year.
budget year.
Yeah. Just close for 2 seconds.
I don't know if I'm able to say anything about this. It's really about the footpaths. And it's Mike, and you've already mentioned about flooding. And my concern is along Gravely Way now, at all the grates, there is straw and there's debris and there's overgrown gutters. And there's already a problem on Gravely Way with flooding, and I want to bring that to your attention in case you haven't seen that.
Thank you. Okay, we open.
To respond? No.
Not really sure who's responsible for
May
that.
I?
You may, please, thank you.
The grates are the responsibility of the county council. So, and the road sweeping is the responsibility of the district council. So neither of those would fall under the parish council's responsibility, but you can report to both of those councils online through their
Okay,
website.
thank you.
Thank you, Nicola.
Sorry, could I maybe ask a quick question there? If we report it to the portal, as you say, which I know I've done for numerous things about all this, etc., nothing ever happened. So who's responsible for actually, who do we escalate that to?
You can escalate it to your county councillor, Doug
Who
Dew.
is?
Doug Dew.
From
So his contact details will be on the county council's website. He is your point of contact for the county council.
And the other thing I would just mention at the moment, I'm having, and I have had for about 10 years now, significant problems with actual, basically waste drains. Just where we are, another house within Checkerscroft itself, Angling Water have been at it for about 10 years to try and do something and done nothing. But the area manager, the new area manager for Angling Water is coming out to see me on the 15th of September. So if it's okay with you guys, I will remind them that he has to have a look at everything in Hilton.
Yeah.
Because at the moment we've only managed to arrange them to clean the physical drain in Checkerscroft that goes up, which took 3 vans all bank holiday Monday at Easter all day to do it, because it's never been touched. They've never touched the actual drainage for it as well. So I know I've been a bit of a pain in the backside, and they're thorn in their side, I think the expression is, but it really is. This flooding carry on is just absolutely disgraceful. You know, logic is we've got drains, that takes the water out. If they're blocked, well, we may as well give up. You know, but we've got stuff that we're not utilising effectively. I'll shut up now, if that's okay.
So yeah, foul water drains is Anglian, storm water drains would be county.
And the other thing is we're actually charged for surface water by Cambridge, and on behalf of Angling, and Angling have confirmed in writing, they don't actually do it. So they're looking into that as well. And they owe me a few quid for getting out contractors. So they said somebody else, and they now agreed that yes, we have been charging for that, and they don't actually do it. So again, I think as one of the other councillors said earlier, it would be good to get clarity of who's getting paid for what, and the refund to any villagers that they have not been doing what they should be doing. The person who wrote that may have got it wrong, of course, but it will be interesting to pursue it. It's only a 10% commission I'll be taking off for any money that's actually recovered, but we'll take it from there.
Thank you,
Okay.
Graham. Many thanks. Okay, still got a resolution to do.
Yes.
Probably wasn't it? We are going to resolve to...
Ask the volunteers group.
That's it, ask the volunteers group to convene and try and deal with these matters.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so... I'll let you finish that, Nicola.
Sorry.
Next one. No. Next one's all yours again.
Yes, the external auditor's report. We have had an except for matter received. So just a reminder, the external auditor's report is a limited assurance review. It is not a full audit. Whilst we refer to them as external auditors. So the except for matter is regarding the asset register. So we did all the work to the asset register in the last financial year. What I should have done is restate the previous year's asset register value. So I just used the previous year's asset register value and then used this year's new values where we had recalculated it all and worked for the original purchase value, which is where the AGAR value sits. But I should have restated the asset value for the previous year. And also the table tennis table was not included on the asset register, and that was picked up. So those are the two areas that are given the exceptional matter. What this will mean is that I will need to restate the previous year's asset register value because I'll need to add the table tennis table. So it's likely that we'll get an other matter raised in the next limited assurance review to state that the previous year's asset value is restated.
Thank you for clarifying that.
It's no problem.
Because I have no idea what that was all about. It's so officious. It's extraordinary.
When you actually talk to the person, they're very helpful and they're very easy to work with. So as a company, I recommend them. But the actual, what comes in writing is the report.
Yes.
You can see so the ones that then go to full audit and their exception reports. They all get published on the PKF Little John website if you want to have a little bit of light reading. How badly a parish council can do it. This minor matter won't get published on this. Obviously it will be published on the parish council's website and the notice of conclusion of audit will be published as well.
Do we need to decide on this?
You need to receive it.
Need to receive it, okay. And I propose to receive this. Done. Okay, move on to the playground inspection report. Looking at it, it seems to be in reasonably good condition with only low risk or very low risk, so on all items. Is there anything that jumps out, Nicola, that needs specific attention? Or
there's a couple of minor things that you could do. Again, it would be the responsibility, it would be something you'd delegate to your maintenance person if you had one.
If we had one.
So like the area under the gate that's eroded, you could lay something down there, probably soil was originally gravel across that meeting the turf. So you could pack that to reinstate the level so that the concrete, the issue is that the concrete that's been exposed could form a trip hazard. The other one that's been picked up is about the damage to the fence sections. That is not the parish council's fence.
Okay.
Oh, that's the
homeowner's fence. So the most you could do there is point it out to that particular homeowner.
Wasn't there something about the swing?
Yeah.
Yes, so because the big basket swing, what happens is the children pick it up and turn it over and that twists it at the top. So it's one of the things that gets reported every time.
Can you just turn it
Can you
over
just-
the other
yes,
way?
as long as you turn it the right way, because
Yeah.
otherwise you make it worse.
We don't need to worry about that one then.
It's not a massive issue. So there's a few splits and shakes that just need monitoring. Again, currently because you don't have a maintenance person, the regularity of the playground inspections has dropped because that was part of the maintenance person's responsibility. obviously I'm going down there as often as I can, but I don't have the capacity within my hours to be doing it on a monthly basis to fill in the report. The other thing that has been raised is about the design of the swing joint, and that they suggest that a secondary safety device could be fitted. So where the basket swing joins on to the horizontal beam, that particular design has been known to fail. So we've got two options: either we monitor it regularly and obviously remove it should it start to fail, or we could fix a secondary safety device that would effectively give you a second anchor point. So should that particular joint fail, the swing would still maintain its position. So that's an either or.
Yeah, it's still on the low risk sort of.
It's still low
heading.
risk. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know what the price would be to add that.
No.
No. Should we just find out what the price is?
I think we should.
Yeah, and bring it back at a subsequent meeting to discuss.
Yeah.
And did you say that, because this is done yearly,
Yeah.
and the maintenance person was checking monthly,
Yeah.
of like looking at this list kind of
We've
thing?
got a separate checklist, so it gives you each piece of equipment and gives you everything to look at. So look at the joints, look at the seat, look at the handle, look at where the bolts are and what you're looking for. So it's basically just a long tick list of have you checked this, have you looked at that.
So we ought to reinstate that while we're waiting for a maintenance person. And
Yes, and it's been loose since it was installed. I think it's just the design of that particular, the handle and the ant springer.
Yeah, I think the trip hazard and the swing are probably the only items personally that I can see that need to be looked at.
good.
But I propose that Nicola kindly gets us a quote for this device to be fitted, and we'll bring it back at a subsequent meeting.
I don't mind doing the tick list risk thing until the,
We've got maintenance
Yeah.
council.
I don't think we shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can send you a copy of it. You just
I'm not saying I'm going to fix it.
No, but you fill it in
But
and you
I
submit
can
it to
have
me,
it
and then
checked.
once it's with me, it's my responsibility then to.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. Okay, so I'll propose that. Seconded.
Okay.
Okay, so number 98 is the LHI signage. Motion from Rob. The motion is Parish Council will consult with Hilton Action on traffic and LHI HGV signage is being finalised in order to ensure optimum placement and wording of HGV sign at the bypass, at Puckworth bypass. Rob?
Yeah, I put this onto the agenda because I'm aware that towards the last quarter of the year it's like to be the time that one starts to get action or could get action. And I want to make sure we didn't end up in a position where the council went ahead and just put the sign where they wanted and we'd have the same problem that we had with the existing signage, which are not in the right place. And I thought, given having spoken on numerous occasions to Andy and his team about this, they've got a lot of data, as he was saying earlier, about where the drivers are saying, you know, there wasn't a sign on this particular bypass, so I thought it would be a good idea to involve that team, that group of people, in having some input into where the sign goes and exactly what the detail of the wording on the sign is, to make sure we get the optimum signage for the HGV drivers to reduce the excuses they've got to drive through the village.
Sounds like a very good plan.
Yeah.
Totally supported.
Who's on the LHI working group? So not me. You guys.
Peter.
Peter is. And so it's what, three of you now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any reason why we can't do stuff via the LHI working group? So
No.
council time. Just thinking.
Soon we could invite in external consultants.
Yeah.
For that.
It's a working group, so you can get on whoever. It just saves council time, really. My only thought.
Yeah. No,
But otherwise, we're going to start, occupying because very occupied time. That would be my suggestion. Would be to absolutely fully behind getting this sign in the right place and showing the right signage. But let's do it via the LHI group.
Okay. Shall I propose an amendment to the motion? So where it says the Parish Council will consult, we should change that to the LHI working group. Perfect. Will consult with Hilton Action on Traffic. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. That's your proposal. I second that.
Right, you're voting the amendment.
Yes.
Vote, sorry,
So
amendment.
you're voting on the
Amendment, not yes.
I propose that new amended proposal.
Yes.
Motion as amended.
As amended.
Motion amendment.
Is anyone second?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. 99 is also Rob's motion. Language strategy. I'm not going to read the whole thing out because you've seen it.
No,
So if you just want to.
yeah, just give it through. So I've been aware of being a member of the LHI working group is that every time that time of year comes and we decide what we're going to do, we sort of start with a blank piece of paper and have the same discussions again about do we need speed humps, is church end speeding, is the Gravely Way junction the most important thing, have we got the money to do it, oh we haven't, let's just do a sign, etc. And we always start from that starting point of nothing. My view was, at the time we had the last discussion, was that we should actually have a sort of 10-year strategy or a big picture, ultimate strategy for the village, drawing on information from everywhere. So we know certain things that the majority of us would agree with, such as the danger point being the Gravely Way junction, with Cotton Road and Ives Road, and the speeding down the hill towards Church End being the two that I think most people are familiar with, and is supported by the data from Andy's machines and so on. But what I'm saying is that I think it would be good if we developed like a vision of how we'd like it to be, given all the money and all the time in the world to implement it. And in that way, next time an LHI bid comes up, we can just chip away a bit of that, put a piece of the jigsaw puzzle in place in the plan. So after 10 years and some additional grants we may win along the way to cover parts of it, we may have a near complete jigsaw puzzle, which I'm sure over time will move slightly. But I think, because when we do an LHI bid, we start off and we come up with some ideas, and then we have to have a public consultation with everyone in the village on those specific things.
You would still need to do that consultation because it's part of the LHI process. You've got to be able to demonstrate that you've got public support for that.
Yes, but I think if we had a strategy which we'd shared with the village and had input from the village that we were all behind, then it's a much quicker process to propose we want to do something that fits as part of that strategy.
Yeah. But you can't skip that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting it would. I think it will just simplify it though if we're all on the same page and we understand everyone's views and have it written down for everyone to see.
What will be the timescale for the discussion and the finding the ideal solution? Have you got a vision of how we're going to discuss it and come back and report on it?
Not really, but my experience in such things, especially when it's not goal driven, like or target date driven, means it will take a while. But it's not an excuse, I don't think, not to start the ball rolling and have some initial meetings and draw up some ideas for discussion. And then I would imagine it becomes a rolling thing over the years, but at least we've got that sort of village vision where
It's establishing what is possible. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
been a lot of discussion
well-
about could you have a mini roundabout at the crossroads, and the answer has always been no from
well, the answer has always been there is no highways officer
yeah.
to consult. So,
It wouldn't be your local highways officer that you need to consult. His role is really in the day-to-day maintenance. You know, there's a drain blocked, there's line painting needs doing here, there's a pothole. You need to speak with a projects officer about design.
yeah.
And
I mean, my point is that if we have this a group such as the LHA working group driving this, then all this and invite all these individuals and find out who the best person is, and the police and interested villagers, public meetings as required to discuss the thoughts and
I'm
get
just trying to
ideas.
think how this is different to what the LHI is doing anyway, in the sense of not but what it can do, what it's powered to do is just a working group is, where you can put in external forces, make a plan, bring it back to council, propose it, and away it goes.
Well, because the LHI, as it stands, we just say, we choose a particular thing and then we try and get support for that.
Right.
And we always try and target it at something relevant and helpful and moving us forwards.
Yeah.
But it's moving us forwards in a direction that we don't really have a vision
Okay.
for what it looks like. So
it's more sort of
yeah, well,
structuring the LHI in a more positive
yeah.
way.
Well, I mean, just a simple example. It's not a perfect one, but imagine we know with LHI we have like a menu that where each item costs a certain amount. So a speed hump would cost you
18 grand.
£18,000, of which
Not far off.
we
Not
might.
far, but it's not far
I
off.
get worried.
The ultimate solution might be that we need 5 speed humps along Hotwell, for example, and if we knew that, then we could do like one a year for 5 years or something like that. But without knowing we need 5, or agreeing we need 5, or
Could
realising
potentially
that
help
half
with
the
your
village
budgeting as well.
object to having any speed humps at all.
So really, you're just trying to restructure the LHI working group to a
Longer term strategy.
long-term
Yeah.
strategy. So it's something you do internally yourself as once you get another member on board, if you so wish.
Yeah.
Any volunteers?
I mean, I'm happy to drive it.
I was going to say, I think that's.
That's what you
I'm just, what I'm trying to, yeah, I'm just wondering why it's the motion. That's the only thing that's confusing me at the moment, because it's almost as if you're making a statement saying we want to make this more forward-thinking, strategic.
Yeah.
I go, absolutely, Rob, crack on. That sounds like a brilliant idea. And when you've got something formulated, come back and we'll,
Okay.
you know, the
We'll do that,
council
yeah.
can then
Yeah.
vote on it. But yeah,
So
Yeah, I guess I
what you're
just want-
effectively doing now is then delegating to the LHI working group to form a long-term strategy for highways improvement.
Yes, that's what I prefer. Because
That sounds good.
yeah, because I mean, I can get off and do it on my own back, but then trying to get the police to come along because I just want to speak to somebody where I can have the support of the parish council. I'd be asked to do it by the parish council. Then I
Normally,
there's
normally
certain
a working group would be either something like task and finish, or you've got ongoing working groups like the policy group that have a very specific remit, or their task and finish. So the LHI working group was formed in a task and finish to provide the LHI bid for the next year.
sure.
So you're slightly amending the instructions that the working group have been given, that
Okay.
they're not formulating the LHI bid, they are looking at the long-term strategy for highways improvement.
Can I make the point? I mean, without this is totally predicated on the fact that the LHI continues in this or a similar format because we have no realistic
There's
budget.
no guarantee of that.
No, and so I think that you're right to suggest that the LHI should give us the direction, and we should be in lockstep with its parameters on an annual basis and tweak and review it. But I don't see how we can bring in a long-term strategy with a bit of an ethereal, it may change tomorrow, it may end next year type other partner.
Well,
We can identify what our community's
You have to
concerns are.
say, yeah.
We do that in the surveys every time as part of the bid, but we also then see the conflicts whereby I want a speed hump, I don't want a speed hump, I live next to a speed hump and I don't want a speed hump, I don't want traffic calming, I do want traffic calming. So we know there will always be that that conflict as well whenever we do the research. So, I mean, other than the fundamentals of improving safety, reducing speed, that commonality, I wonder where a cohesive strategy would be for the whole of the village after that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, it has to be a strategy that could vanish at any point without acceptance, because the funding goes. So.
Yeah, but then again, LHI isn't going to be the only source potentially of solving the problems, is it? I mean, for example, I don't know, I'm a bit out of my depth now, as you can tell, but there must be projects that get done in villages that aren't funded by an LHI bid.
Well,
With
I was
10%
wondering
paid by
that.
the Parish Council. There must be grants that
I was
are
wondering that
available
because if you go
for
through
safety.
Ellsworth, sorry, John, but go through Ellsworth and Nicola and other communities around here, they've got quite good strategies for controlling the traffic. You know, down to one lane and gradually going from Ellsworth going up to the 428. It's very controlled, and I know that we're on a highway through, we're on a through road, but that's a through road as well, and it really does control the traffic. You really have to stop. I just feel that the Potton Road is a hazardous road. Having seen it recently, it's hazardous, and I don't think the present arrangements are entirely satisfactory.
My main concern.
I think we could do better.
My main concern here is that none of us are experts, by background in that area. We were asked to get an LHI bid sorted out, which we did to the best of our ability on what we know about. But that's why I'd like to consult with a wider group to get a view on there are solutions to the junction problem, affordable or not affordable, or it might be that we're pointed in the direction of you can get a grant to put in the appropriate traffic lights or whatever it is at that junction. But we just don't know that. The only mechanism I'm aware of through experience is the LHI process.
There is the
But that has
privately
its
funded
limits,
highways.
'cause-
In it, yeah, you can do a privately funded highways improvement, but then of course you're paying the cost.
I'm going to close for a split second.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, there is an existing PC traffic working group which has got a broader remit and includes members of Speedwatch and HAT and others already. So that is in existence and can be called upon to work. And that's not just to work on LHI, but
I was told that got disbanded
at the last
annual meeting.
Disuse.
well,
I wasn't there.
perhaps if we used it a bit more, like you use, lose it or use it. The other quick one is I regularly meet with the police. I have the sergeant meeting me next week, actually next Wednesday, to talk about, in particular, the HGV issues. So, and obviously the Speedwatch group are in existence. So we know those groups do exist, and we do have good relationships with other stakeholders in that. So I sort of agree with Rob, pulling together the expertise of police and highways and Speedwatch and HGV Watch and all of those seems a sensible thing to do, to pull that expertise together.
Sorry, it was just
Seems as if it's a really good thing to do some research and get some ideas about what could be done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. Right, we reopen at that point.
So I don't know
Yeah,
whether
I'm
in
just-
terms of whether we need a motion or whether I can do it under the remit of the LHI, or whether we need to propose to change the remit of the LHI working group to
What would be different?
You would be giving the instruction to the LHI working group that they are to form a long-term strategy for highways improvement.
And apart from that, the facilitation of it, would that change
How they
any way from-
facilitate it, it would be their decision.
And
So
does
they
that
can go,
change?
yeah, as the working group, they can
Yeah.
go and consult with stakeholders or experts in the field.
Is that how it is at the moment?
The LHI working group was formed to produce the LHI bid at the last meeting, or in the last financial year, sorry, for the HGV signage.
Okay.
So that was the sole purpose of that LHI working group.
And did they have the same abilities?
Yeah.
Communication-wise,
Yeah.
everything?
I-
There's no change on
they
that?
had no decision-making powers.
No.
So when it came to doing a survey that cost money, that had to come back to the Parish
Yeah.
Council for agreement. and so their role was to make a recommendation.
Sure.
So this would be in the same vein. They would have no decision-making power because they're a working group. They can make a recommendation to the full council.
So realistically, not a massive change from, but it still needs
It's that tweak between form an LHI bid and form a long-term strategy.
To include the LHI bid.
Well, that would then be used as the basis for the
For the
LHI
LHI
bid.
bid.
It's effectively like a wish list, shopping list, that you're going to say, we want to do traffic, single priority lanes, and we need 2 of them, so that might form 2 separate LHI bids.
So it's a tweak, really.
It's a tweak to the remit of the working group.
And does it need to be on a conditional yearly basis for review or not? Is that,
If the council chooses to do that,
I'm
it
just
could
wondering
be,
whether
but
that's of any use at all on it?
if you want to give a time limit, it could be. What I would recommend more is that once the strategy is, once you've got that, the strategy that the group recommends, you then set the time limit on that. So that strategy is only effective for 3 years.
Okay.
However, it will be reviewed within, because
Not
as you
to
say,
yeah.
the strategy will not be a fixed thing.
No,
And
absolutely.
if you even achieved everything on the shopping list, there'll still be a longer shopping list.
Yeah, I think it'd be a rolling plan, a rolling strategy.
A rolling
won't it?
strategy,
So-
yeah.
But if we had somewhere to start, it would be
Yeah, I think, establishing what is possible would be a good place to start.
So do we need to amend the motion to
Yes.
ask the LHI working group to produce
A long-term strategy.
in conjunction with these consultations?
Well, that's what you did actually, didn't you?
Yeah, so that doesn't necessarily need to be
Okay.
included in the motion.
Good.
So,
Hang on.
I'm waiting. You tell me what to say. Tell me the words.
I can't talk and spell.
That's fine.
So the motion is amended to ask the LHI working group to produce a long-term strategy for highways improvements and present to a future council meeting.
Perfect. You're proposing, I'll second that.
And would you like to vote on that motion as amended?
Oh, yeah.
That's me.
Propose the amended motion.
Second.
Forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kicked into the one garage.
Number 100.
Yes.
John, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was approached by a parishioner with regards to concerns during the last week of term with Swavesey students going across Popham Road to the bus stop adjacent to Chapel Close, outside the Methodist Church on that corner there. And this really followed on from very, very tragic circumstances back in 1985 with similar sort of situations on the Popham Road, although that was then a national speed limit road. So in essence, things have changed since those discussions and indeed the forming of the agenda for tonight's meeting. In essence, if we imagine the north-south divide is Popham Road, there is a provision of a bus stop for students who go to the bus stop on the western side of the village, at the bottom by the zebra crossing just prior to the crossroads. And then for those on the eastern side of the village, there was a pickup in Scott's Crescent. So the risk of students having to cross the Popham Road was thereby mitigated. And that has been the consistent model for Fenstanton and Hilton School incoming. But there has been a period of that protocol slipping for the Swavesey Village College students. So we've then had students crossing the Popham Road, in fact, in both directions, because the two bus routes that were running for the village Some students from the west would cross the road to go to Scots Crescent, and some from the east were crossing the road to catch the Potton Road bus for the two different routes. So that was the situation when it was raised, this concern about whether or not better coordination with the geographical home location and the relevant bus stop, whether that could be improved to make sure that no students went across the main road. Now, subsequent to that, obviously demand in the village for Swansea Village College buses commencing tomorrow has reduced, and so now there's only one service. That is going to be in Scots Crescent, which mitigates the overall risk associated with Potton Road. However, there now only being one bus stop, and it being on the east, it means that any student on the west side of Potton Road will have to do that transfer across the road. So a solution, and what, whether this has to be an amendment or whether it sits within the terms originally drafted, the question I would like to raise and discuss is whether the council should approach both the supplier and the bus contractor, the college and indeed the education authority to ask for or raise the concerns of safety with regards to the transversing of Potton Road by students on the west of the village, and whether that could be mitigated by simply reinstating the bus collection in the bus stop as per the current protocol for the Fen-Stanton bus. Thereby, students on the west can get picked up in the bus stop, students on the east can get picked up in Scots Crescent, thereby no one has to cross the Potton Road.
So the bus just as a loop?
It does, yeah. It goes in one end, it comes from Conington, it's going to go in one end of Scots Crescent, and then it's going to come out onto the Potton Road, and then it will go over to 1307.
Do the two schools have different collection times?
Yes.
So you wouldn't have...
Oh yes, sorry, yes, they have different departure and return
I think
times.
that's important.
Yes. There's about 15 to 20
No,
minutes.
it's 22 and 35. So 13 minutes between them.
So the issue being, I guess, that the college doesn't really know, the council's getting the kids picked up, and so maybe they're not aware, and the bus contractor's thinking, well, that's easy for us because it's one bus and we have to do one stop. Versus what is the best, in the best interest of children in the village.
The history, obviously, going back to 1985, has been well forgotten.
Except for those involved, of course.
I had no idea that there would be in depth in the village until you raised it.
Before my time, I remember just as some being knocked over, which
Oh,
then
yes,
reduced the crossing.
There have been subsequent incidents, but that was the very tragic accident.
So
which also triggered the reduction in speed.
This school year then, the bus for Swansea Village College is picking up in Scots Crescent. Why are they not picking up then? We don't know. Or coming round and picking up at the bus stop like they used to.
I think it's easier logistics.
Saves
I can think of no other reason, because
Just
they've
saves them stopping
got
twice.
to turn out the road and they've got to go right and they've got to drive past the bus stop.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I don't understand.
I think they're probably not aware of it. They know that there's 45 students potentially on the bus. The bus seats 50. We only need one bus stop. It's a small village. I imagine it's some sort
They
of...
haven't been out and looked or seen or...
And I guess they wouldn't survey every single village, in
okay.
fairness to them. So this is probably an awareness raising exercise where everyone says, well, it's a win-win and there's no real downside.
Yeah.
How is
So
it
how do
going
we
to be
contact-
resolved?
yeah,
Who is going to direct or ask the bus company to make that
Can we
arrangement?
arrange a meeting with them?
Potentially.
Because
I would-
sometimes
I would
emails
suggest-
disappear, and a face-to-face might do the job better.
From a time point of view, I would start with a letter.
Yeah, requesting what we need and a meeting if possible.
Who
The same morning.
Who makes the decision as to where the buses stop? Is it the person paying the bus company, or is it the bus company, or the school, or
I
do we
would
know
suggest
even
it's
know
not
that?
the school, because the
No.
school has very little jurisdiction over the bus company. So there is the school transport department in the county council who are responsible for organising school transport. They've obviously outsourced then to a contractor who actually runs the buses. I believe it's the company that runs the buses that chooses the routes.
Okay.
but I would have to clarify that.
Because that's where we start, isn't it?
I've said to
I
bus
would
companies.
suggest you just send the same letter to all three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we've covered our backs. Yeah. Okay. It's not much to ask, is it?
No, not at all.
It's not going to cost them any more money.
No.
Would you propose to put in the letter then that we'd offer a face-to-face meeting if they'd like one?
If they'd like one, yeah.
Well, we discussed this again before any further meetings. The only thing I would just say is that the location of it at the end of Chapel Close, there was the pedestrian risk, but there was also the risk for traffic trying to pull out of Chapel Close as well. When you got the volume of traffic coming out of the nursery in the morning, then they were just trying to see round it, and then depending where he stopped, you had a limited field of vision as to how far down you could see, so you have to try and inch out behind the bus and sort of try and peer around the corner. So I would very much want to make the point that if we do reinstate that both sides of the road, to urge them to move away from the chapel and back to Lodge Shelter.
I think that was the founding
Yes.
point that was being raised,
Yeah.
and so I completely agree with you, Matt.
Yeah.
That is pivotal, but we're offering them the solution because it's down the road, and
Yep.
the Fenstanton and the Hilton bus already uses it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They wouldn't, with the route the bus currently takes, they wouldn't be able to come up to Chapel.
It's the same company
out
dealing
of
with both
Scotland.
schools, isn't it? So,
Yes.
yeah. So they're very familiar.
They're very familiar with the
Yes.
route.
Is the age group of the Swavesey, is it college age? So is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So 11 to 16.
11 to 16.
Oh, 11 to 16,
Yeah.
not
And
the
secondary.
No, we're not,
No,
this is
sixth
not
one.
sixth one, yeah, this is secondary age.
The reason I asked is because my daughter goes to Comberton and has done. She's now in sixth form, but actually she used the Comberton bus, and that stops at Prince of Wales. Just to compare, it doesn't do any good or anything to, but it's very few children in comparison to this.
The Prince of Wales, the bus can actually
They
pull
go the
them
other
off
way.
the road,
Onto the
onto the
pavement.
pavement.
Yeah.
That's the other, it was something that was worked on after the 1985 incident, was whether the lay-by could be turned into either widened or restricted so that it was for buses only, to allow the bus to pull completely off the road, whilst there is a bus stop marking which is adhered to, it's not parked in, it's not wide enough to get a double-decker bus in, or long enough to get a double-decker bus off of the road completely. So you'd need almost that entire lay-by there to be changed. That would be a product of an LHI, that kind of project.
But we can do something quite quickly.
Let's do the, let's do that. So how are we amending this motion? Or do we need to?
You are delegating to the clerk to write to the college, the bus company and the transport department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The request, yeah.
Okay, number 101, community gritting. Do we have volunteers at the moment?
There may have been one last year. We had
We haven't got the machine.
4 1 year, which we do have the gritting machine, we have the grit.
Where's the gritting machine?
It's in the pavilion.
Brilliant.
Back to the
It's
pavilion.
literally just push along with that. or something.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing you used to seed grass.
Exactly.
Type machine.
Bigger version of those, yeah.
Where do you grit? Did somebody decide where they're going to grit?
This is the problem with this scheme, is that there is no instruction
No.
even to go out and grit. It's a case of the volunteers are supposed to just look out the window and go, oh, look, I'll grit here. There are grit bins placed, there are 3 grit bins in the village, and there are bits that are notoriously difficult, like the top of Sparrow Way down into Church Lane. There's quite a slope there, and that can be lethal in ice, which is why there's a grit bin placed on that corner, because that would make distributing the grit more easy. But there is no instruction from the county to say, go and grit these areas.
Are you not liable if you grit?
This is why you have to sign up as a volunteer, is to take, the county council will take the liability then. If you're signed up as a volunteer and you adhere to their protocol.
So the county council or the district council will grip the main highways. This is just for the side roads.
This is this is not for roads. This is more for pedestrian areas.
Yeah.
So for the paths.
So if you want paths gritted, then
Okay.
So always liquid on the roads.
Yes.
The main highways are not by us.
No.
That's really important.
We're not walking down the bottom road with seats.
I thought that was...
Yes, and you've got to do it at between 4 and 5 a.m. That's not dangerous at all. Normally,
What do
when
we do every
receive
year?
this, what we do every year is I put it out on the Facebook page and the website and ask for volunteers. And when they come in, I then refer them to the county council's form to fill in. Even if a volunteer has been on the list previously, they're required to fill the form in every year.
Do we need to propose this?
Yes.
Okay. I propose that we do exactly what we did last year.
Could you remind us? Yes. I forgot what we did.
I'll tell you what, we're going to go with media channels because it's quicker to type. So it's resolved the clerk will advertise the scheme on the media channels.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's good. Cambridgeshire Properties Capital Fund. Okay. This looks like something possibly for the pavilion. £40,000 support with capital costs by an organisation to make community buildings or other community assets better. Cut-off date on this?
Expressions of interest are
Okay.
later this month, 24th.
Any reasons not to show our interest?
The only observation I had was I was struggling. There's a requirement for 3 out of 7 ambitions to be commensurate with the bid. So that
The county councils.
there are 7
corporate
ambitions. Yeah. And I struggle to see, without some very
Creative
careful
writing.
scripting, how we were going to get 3. That was the only concern I had. They're on page.
I haven't got them.
It's on the link.
Oh.
So there's net zero emissions, travel across the county is made safer and more environmentally sustainable. That's number 2.
We could probably twist that a little
You
bit.
can twist that one.
Yeah.
Local facilities for local people.
Health and
Shop our local people.
I could see 2 or 3, but I thought the 3rd one we might be struggling a bit. But that was the only concern I had. To do all that work and then not.
I haven't seen those, that list, so...
Yeah. I think you could probably, as I say, travel, well, you won't have to travel, so that's green as, isn't it? It's that no one will need to travel to reach a community building because we will have another community building in the village.
And is it net zero, aiming for net zero, or...?
They're going to achieve net zero, aren't they, by 2040?
Yes.
This is
2045.
2045.
11 times a 5-year margin.
I think it's helping towards it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I think we'd probably scrape 3 out of that.
The thing is, if you scrape 3 and they say, you're not really getting this one, then your expression of interest will be turned down.
And
That's
And
it.
that's it, that's the end of the road. So you do your expression of interest and you will either be invited to make a bid for this or you will be told that your project does not meet the requirements.
okay.
So the danger is that I complete the expression of interest form and it wastes my time.
Right, okay.
That was my
That is
concern.
That's
right.
the cost to the council,
Yes.
is my time in completing this
Understood,
report.
okay.
And is there a form that you fill in, or do you have to create something in your mind?
I haven't seen it, but I would be almost certain there would be a form to complete.
10 pages probably.
Or at least.
Minimum.
Minimum, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And 40,000 doesn't...
But what I will be able to do is reuse what I did with the last one, which escapes the department one about community, that was community assets, I think. The last one I did that was an expression of interest, I recycled a lot of the FCC communities bid form and just copied and pasted it from that box.
So do you think probably that could happen with
I
this?
think so.
So
An
is it
hour,
an hour of your time?
potentially, that's what you could be wasting.
On the episode we can get 40,000 40,000 towards the...
But you could get 40,000 towards the pavilion, so obviously there will be additional work. There will be a few more hours' work to get to that point.
Yeah.
But at
But if
this
you got
point,
past the first stage,
if
then
we
it'll be
got past the
worth
first
it.
stage,
So
then
that'll
we-
be extra time.
Then you'd pass it back to the working group.
Yes.
Once you've got through the first stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I propose we ask the clerk to express our interest.
That's tempting, isn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose that.
it?
Okay. Right, health conference. This is for you, Nicola, to attend, or
Well,
others?
I have attended for the last 3 years. It didn't happen to you. There is nothing to stop a councillor going or sending more than one delegate,
Apart from the cost.
apart from the
Apart from
cost.
the cost.
There is going to be, one of the presenters is talking about the new Operation London Bridge. So there's going to be some pertinent information for the council. They were hoping to run some training on it in August, but it got cancelled, so it's been deferred to the conference now. Talking about Operation London Bridge, so this is now the death of the King we're
In
talking
case the
about.
king dies.
So there was a lot of preparation obviously that went into the process around the death of the Queen, but if the King changes the rules, and some of the protocol is well established and will always be done like that because it has always been done like that. But for instance, Prince Philip requested certain things for his funeral, like the Land Rover and the military and the things that he particularly wanted. The Queen requested certain transport arrangements for her body, so there was a very prescriptive process for if she died at Sandringham or if she died at Balmoral and what the process would be. So it's all those sorts of things that will then be discussed because this information is now being disseminated out, and it won't be made public.
But we would know, you would know, yes, we have to implement.
We have to have a protocol. We have our protocol in the event of the death of a senior national figure.
Yeah.
So that needs to be updated basically with the King's plan.
We
so-
don't have to be part of the process of finding out. It will be
No,
delivered.
it will be delivered at the conference that this is the process, this is what you must do.
But then you would have
That anyway.
delivered note to you anyway.
I would hope so, but these sorts of things are easier if you're hearing someone talk and have the opportunity to ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, Philip Peacock, who is the clerk at Huntingdon, led on this for most of Cambridgeshire actually, not just Huntingdonshire.
Okay.
So having that point of contact, who is the local expert in the area, he's retiring this year, so I don't know who is actually going to be leading on it going forward, but knowing that person is a benefit.
Are you able to go again?
I am able to go again, if you would like me to. So as I say, if somebody else would like to attend,
Done.
Just waiting for the volunteer.
You have to pay yourself. Okay. Council tax. What's the relevance of this one? Discussing some response. Council tax support scheme consultation. Is this very applicable to us?
I don't know that it's massively applicable. Obviously, it will affect some residents in the village. The HDC is required to review their scheme and put it out to consultation. So they are choosing to amend the scheme now. It hasn't been amended for some time, and so that's why they're consulting on it.
Do we need to receive it?
You can choose not to respond. It is a little beyond the pay grade of the Parish Council,
I
but
was going to say,
it is
probably
going to
that
affect.
would be my thoughts, not to respond on this, and just see what comes through later on. Any thoughts on that?
No.
Okay, in that case I propose not to respond on this. there a lunch involved in this?
There is a lunch involved.
Well,
Free
we'd like
lunch.
to go,
There is a
so
free
I can't
lunch.
go on
This is a
17.
free. This is a conversation. It's not a conference. It's a climate conversation. I have attended some of these sorts of things in the past. Actually, I was involved in the strategy for the district. They are interesting. It does throw up a lot of questions and different points of view from the various stakeholders in the room. But obviously, it's a full day of hours. So
Yeah,
if someone else would like to attend.
I would suggest it's more suitable for a councillor.
What day is it?
17th of November. Free lunch.
I'll go.
Okay, do we need to propose what goes?
Yep.
I propose what goes.
Free lunch.
Two magic words. Free lunch.
No,
I can't recommend
Of
it.
course you are, I'm joking. And the free lunch.
I was vegetarian, by the way. Okay. 106 electric vehicle pilot scheme. Again, what are we being asked to do here, Nicola?
So you're being asked to provide
some charging point for electric vehicles in our village car park.
Well, the car park is the only bit the Parish Council owns that could be used. Obviously, you do have the issue that it is common land, so there's a bigger conversation to have. The only other thing I could think where we've had this issue raised is down Church Lane.
Yeah.
So whether there could be EV points installed down the road there.
But it
That's not
talks
owned by
about,
the parish.
it looks like it wants you to own a building
I'll make
with
the
a bit of power from next door to it.
The only thing that you own down
Electric
the
vehicles
street
will just drop
it is
down there to
possible
charge
to
their car.
have EV points installed in streetlights.
My feeling is, being the part owner of an electric vehicle, you actually have your own charging point.
Yes.
Otherwise, it simply doesn't work.
Well,
That's too
It's
expensive.
just not
That's
viable.
not what's happening down
So what's it called?
Church Lane. They're running
Issues with
extension
parking.
cables to the road because they don't have off-street parking.
Allocated parking.
Why wasn't the
Right.
council not asked the next level looking into this?
They were. They
Wasn't
said all
Claire-
sorts of encouraging things, and it's gone very quiet.
It's gone very quiet.
Sarah Conboy was involved at one point. She was the leader of the district council.
You see, I'd be very supportive of putting something in. I know there's some hoops to jump through to get there. Only it then talks in here about whether we'd be prepared to fund it, doesn't it? Or
Budget availability.
Yes.
And then you've got the maintenance.
Yeah.
And if you consider, single phase and what a street lamp can supply, it won't be as much as a single phase, probably domestic charge. It won't be 7 kilowatts.
Yeah.
And also
So
the cost of actually the charge itself
And-
compared to house charge.
And then how is it billed?
Yeah.
It's
It's probably going to be on the card, isn't it?
Right, so then there would then be a contract with a third party out,
Yeah.
which then means, and then
But
you'd have to
having
treat-
seen other examples of this, funnily enough, in a village called Hilton in Derbyshire,
Oh,
And the other,
When
when
we
we
were
were
on the
the
they have 3 installed on their village car park, and they're all BP Pulse owned. So I assume BP do the maintenance and the installation and everything. So I don't know what I can't grasp from what we're being asked to do, but I'm happy to be involved in
It's
further.
what they're actually asking.
Can we get them installed? Like, i.e., we offer the
space.
the
rather than-
space.
I don't think
But
they're
actually
I
get-
don't know
get
that
it all
you can
covered.
offer that space without consultation
Well, yeah,
to the common rights holders.
understood.
And you've got a deadline of the 18th of September.
And can I say, with that comment there, this strategy aims to identify HDC's role within EV infrastructure. It sounds like they're not really sure of their own, how it looks for them. So it's very hard for
We
us
need
to
to
know.
express interest, can't we?
I just felt it was sort of ticking their box rather than actually being practical as far as our
So then I guess for me, the other thing is the logistics of the only viable site that we have that the Parish Council owns, subject to that process of negotiation, it being part of the Green, or Common Land rather, would be who's going to walk from their house to the Village Hall car park to then leave their car overnight in that car park charging.
Most church lane, I'd say.
I don't. Do you go through the?
You don't think they just continue to
But
run?
you'd have to
I
have a
don't
lot of points for everybody to
I think they
get
run the
access to.
cables.
And they do take quite a few hours to
Well,
to charge.
absolutely. So,
And then
Yeah,
you're going to
that's
have
what I'm
people
saying.
parking on fairly limited parking space
so
that we have.
a
I
normal-
think it's a
absolutely.
difficult question. I think if you could put them at the bottom of Church Lane, that would be great. But as you say, it's not very practical to do that because there's no building in which the power supply can
But
go.
then I think that if you put them there, they wouldn't get used by the people of Church Lane, they'd still be using the cables because it'd be cheaper.
Yeah.
So I just can't see in this village the point of this at the moment.
The other concern
I
is,
concur.
again, like we said about hours, how many hours is this going to take if you go down this road? Mine was.
Yeah, exactly.
So what can I just,
Long grass as well.
what are we being asked to do at this stage by Monday the 18th? I can see the deadline.
Provide the info in that list.
It's doing no research for them, isn't it, essentially?
Budget availability.
yes, in essence, I think you're right.
Well, it says if you have allocated any funds, so we just say we haven't.
They haven't massively engaged with Church End residents either. Church Lane residents with their issue. They haven't engaged at all with them. So
I think this is very speculative.
fishing exercise.
The fact that they actually say, is it owned by the parish? If not, then who? So they're then inviting you to nominate third-party owners of land.
Well, then you take photo.
Who you then going to go and ask them if it's okay? It's all.
I'm just keen that we raise a flag to say we are interested, but obviously this is a bit specific, isn't it? It doesn't seem to. How about, is there any way we can, like, I can get in touch with Claire Telvin, just to see what we need to do, and then, but the thing is, there's still a meeting before we need to submit
we need
it,
a proposal before that.
so I need you to propose to me that delegates me to do that work with
You can't do
the
that
clerk.
between.
O'Connor.
No. You can't make
You
decisions.
can be, but I could work with you, could I?
You have to take time then, your time.
I don't
think
think
we have to do something. I'll do in support. I'll support Nicola in talking to Claire Devlin to find out.
From whom could we find out, I mean, irrespective of where they were put, from whom could we find out what the mechanism is for who puts them in and who maintains them and what the cost is, you know, because we just don't know anything, do we?
No.
I
don't think they do.
That's what
Fishing,
HDC
just saying that. What's
Yeah.
that? I think this is.
I mean, the situation's going to arise in the future, isn't it? That there is going to be a need, we hope, as people move towards electric vehicles.
Yeah.
There is going to
This
be-
is the sort of village that's.
But they probably don't require a public one, they're probably
Exactly.
also
I
quite
disagree.
large.
I
We're
disagree.
all private here.
Because I think there's a lot of people that don't have drive space, like in Church Lane, an example, where it might be considered useful, especially as competition
But we
in
only
the
own
future.
one lamppost. Is that correct?
In Church Lane?
Yes.
There might be a couple in Church Lane. There's certainly one at the bottom of Church Lane, in the alleyway going to Scott's. There's one near the green. Whether there's another one, I don't know. I'd have to check my list.
It's a no-brainer.
But still,
You've got to do
if
something.
you've got a public charger versus your cable.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and you're paying 50p
Cables
versus
Simon
90.
It is
cables across the bay.
Oh yes, it's awful, but they have no choice of it. And, well, are they going to pay 4 times the amount and not do their cable for something that's put in? I don't know.
I'm all for offering the facility, and then if people don't use it, then that's a different matter. And I understand, but we can't anticipate what the pricing is going to be like in 10 years' time.
No.
It's more competitive and
Well, they're hydrogen by then anyway, so.
Hey, could I just make a quick comment? Is this not something that, you know, if we're going to, as a village, be forced to have it, because they all say we must have a public charge point, is it something maybe the Prince of Wales, because I would think they're maybe the only folk that are going to be using visitors to the hotel, and if an individual breaks their own charges, they go down there to charge it, so it's a backup sort of thing.
It's a good point. It's a good point for people on long journeys, coming through the village, as opposed to parishioners themselves. But do you want to encourage people who are on long distance to park in a small village with limited
I'm sure Simon would love people to go in and have a drink and a meal while they're being charged, wouldn't they? And that's the incentive.
Private business, it's going to be a choice of the owner of the business, whether that improves his marketability.
I'm going to make a proposal.
Reopen the meeting.
I'm going to open the meeting there, sorry, in my mind, but I didn't.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm going to propose this.
I'd like to make a counter proposal that we ask the clerk, after clarification, with the assistance of a councillor.
Can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
Ed's made a proposal.
Yeah.
Your amendment cannot refute the proposal. So what then has to happen is that if there's a seconder for that proposal and it gets voted down, then you can make your proposal.
Can it retract his proposal?
You can withdraw his proposal.
So if there's an opportunity to get, or the potential to have an electric point at no cost to the parish council, could we make the submission?
For the village hall car park or Church Lane?
One of these points.
Not Wales, that's Friday.
Can I say?
Can you not ask him? I mean,
These
not that the
primary
parish council would, no. But, I mean, is the parish council allowed to approach an individual and say, would you be interested in?
He has business, as we were saying, he can decide to do that because it helps his revenue.
Yeah, I know, it's just simply that it's just taking it.
This says we are looking for expressions of interest from parish councils. So it's not saying they're looking for expressions of interest at this point from private individuals
And can I also
or businesses.
add to that point, it then goes on to say, where in areas where HTC has no EV charge points installed in its off-street car parks. So I would query whether that is indicative that they are looking for off-street charging rather than the street lamp model. And I think that has great bearing on our particular circumstance, which I understand that we have two options. I think one is pretty much irrelevant, which is this car park, and the other one, well, if they're not supporting on-street charging, then that's null and void as well, which is Church Lane. Therefore, we'd be precluded by virtue of the fact that, so I think that would need to be identified. We might be precluded from the fact that we don't have a suitable site.
Yeah.
So, if after consultation by Rob, it is zero cost to the council, we would then ask the clerk to look into it, what are they asking us to physically do?
Submit an expression of interest.
Submit an
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything other than what could then effectively be one sentence responses to those bullet points then?
No. But if you want to go with a village hall car park, then obviously that will change the answers compared to the area of Church Lane.
I mean, one assumes an expression of interest is not something we're not committing ourselves to.
No.
So
absolutely zero.
Okay, so did we get there with the motion?
I'm working on it.
It's that balance of Nicola's time. That's the biggest bit here. So,
But it is relevant and it is of interest, isn't it? The whole question. Yeah. Good to have some more information.
I have your wording of as that you will consult with District Councillor Claire Tevlin to establish that there is no cost to the council and that the area of the village hall car park is suitable, and if these conditions are met, then the clerk is instructed to submit an expression of interest. Good. Yeah, so we're restricting it to the village hall car park.
Or can we put all on the street in Church Lane?
Can do, just spread it.
Yeah.
And all.
Details budget. Yeah. No, I see that. That's why you can see.
They're always secret about those. They chuck you out and keep behind closed doors about
So
secret
that's
stuff.
your proposal?
Yes.
Usually an easement.
I'll second that.
There've always been easements in the front. Not far. Monarch Farm. That's been their easement. But even more secret than that.
Usually
All
British Legion, £60 each year. £60 this year. I propose that
It is
it
in
is
the
in the
budget.
budget.
You've already gone over the donations budget by a little bit, but this was in the budget.
Ask if they're in Parish Council afterwards.
Okay. I use weighted words on
They're usually a two-person. Heather's gone that way.
that. It would be. 59 is burning. Okay, financial reports.
They were only added this morning, obviously due to my annual leave, so apologies for that.
Are there any comments on these? Whether we have a chance to have a quick look?
Did you say we're at the mid-year?
End of this month will be the mid-year one.
Is that when we get our next
Should be the second half of the precept.
Okay, we voted to accept these. Okay. Payments received, fees for utilities.
Note that payment?
Yes, please. Can we note this payment of fees for utilities? Thank you. Approved payments is the next one.
Not bad at all.
So we just that.
Okay, any comments on long-term improvement payments? Well, let me know when we can accept those.
Keen to those and
Yeah.
happy with them.
Yeah.
I propose that we accept the payments. Okay, 111, to discuss and decide upon renewing membership to the local councils, Society of Local Council Clerks. Cost £177. I assume that's in the,
It's in the budget.
it's in the budget, so
Yeah, it's gone up by £8 this, sorry, £6 this year.
I propose, second done. Council items for information only. Okay, no discussion, no decisions to be made.